The space station Liberty Point hung in the darkness between Earth and Mars like a shining beacon. Its rotating rings caught the distant sunlight, making it sparkle against the black canvas of space. Inside the station's main diplomatic chamber, Captain Ellie Morgan straightened her blue uniform and took a deep breath. "They're arriving in 5 minutes, Captain," said Lieutenant Peter Donovan, checking his tablet. Ellie nodded. "Is Grace ready with the translation software?" "Yes, ma'am. She's been working all night to update it with the linguistic data they sent ahead." The first contact with an alien civilization was about to become a face-to-face meeting. 3 months. Ego, the Zyraxian ships had appeared near Jupiter, broadcasting messages of peaceful intentions. Now, after countless exchanges of information, the leaders of the Zyraxian Confederacy were coming to meet humans in person. Grace Martinez hurried into the room, her dark hair pulled back in a neat bun. "Captain, the translation software is ready, but I'm still worried about body language. The Zyraxians use completely different physical cues than we do. Just do your best, Grace. That's all any of us can do today." A soft chime announced the arrival of the alien shuttle. The human delegation stood at attention as the large metal doors slid open. The Zyraxians were tall, almost 7 feet in height. Their skin was a pale blue with patterns of darker blue running across their faces. They had 4 arms and walked, with a strange swaying motion. The one in front wore elaborate armor with symbols engraved across the chest. "Welcome to Liberty Point," Ellie said, offering a small bow instead of a handshake, as they had been advised. "I am Captain Ellie Morgan, representing the United Earth Government." Grace's translation device hummed softly as it converted her words. The lead Zyraxian's eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, blinked in sequence. "I am Admiral Kavex, of the glorious Zyraxian Confederacy," the alien replied, the translation coming through with a metallic edge. "We are pleased to meet another spacefaring species, though your technology seems quaint." Ellie maintained her diplomatic smile despite the slight. "We have much to learn from each other, Admiral. Shall we begin our discussions?" The meeting proceeded into the station's conference room. Large windows showed the stars and the distant blue marble of Earth. The human and Zyraxian delegations sat across from each other at a long table. Admiral Kavex spoke at length about the 6 species that made up the Zyraxian Confederacy and their achievements across their home star systems. Ellie noticed how he often looked at the human technology around the room with what seemed like amusement. When it was Ellie's turn to speak about humanity, she noticed something odd. Every time she smiled or made a hand gesture for emphasis, the Zyraxians would tense up. "Is something wrong, Admiral?" she finally asked. Kavex's upper arms crossed while his lower arms remained flat on the table. "You bare your teeth and move your limbs in rapid, unpredictable patterns. In our culture, these are signs of aggression or deception." Grace leaned forward, concerned. "Admiral, these are normal human expressions. Our smiles are signs of friendship, not aggression." The Admiral made a sound that the translator didn't catch. "Interesting. Your species uses threat displays as greetings. Most unusual." The meeting continued, but the mood had shifted. When Ellie described human expansion to Mars and Europa, she noticed the Zyraxians exchanging looks. "You colonize quickly for such a young species," Kavex observed. "We are explorers by nature," Ellie replied. "Explorers, or conquerors." The Admiral's middle eye narrowed. By the end of the day, both sides agreed to continue discussions tomorrow. As the Zyraxians departed to their shuttle, Lieutenant Donovan approached Ellie. "That could have gone better," he said quietly. "They're cautious. I would be too, meeting a new species." Ellie watched the Zyraxian shuttle detach from the station. "We'll try again tomorrow." But tomorrow never came as planned. At Euro 347 station, time! Alarms blared throughout Liberty Point. Ellie rushed to the command center in her sleep clothes. "Report," she demanded. The tactical officer's face was pale. "Zyraxian ships just attacked the research vessel Galileo near Europa. 47 scientists dead. No warning." Ellie felt her blood run cold. "Get me a channel to Admiral Kavex immediately." When the Admiral's face appeared on screen, There was no hint of apology. "Your research vessel was scanning our ships with active sensors," he stated flatly. "This is an act of war in civilized space. They were conducting ice core analysis on Europa." Ellie fought to keep her voice steady. "Those were scientists, not soldiers. Yet they aimed scanning devices at our vessels. We reviewed your transmissions and determined your frequent facial expressions and erratic movements were indeed signs of deception. You were planning to attack? That's not true." Ellie's voice rose in frustration. She caught herself taking a deep breath. "Admiral, this is a terrible misunderstanding. Let us—" "Your emotional outburst confirms our analysis," Kavex interrupted. "Logical species maintain composure during diplomatic exchanges. Your kind clearly lacks the temperament for peaceful relations." Before Ellie could respond, more alarms sounded. Multiple Xeraxian vessels just came through the Jupiter jump point. Lieutenant Donovan reported, "They're heading toward our colonies on Europa and Ganymede." On the screen, Admiral Kavex's expression remained unchanged. "The Xeraxian Confederacy has classified humanity as a chaotic species, unsuitable for diplomatic relations. You will surrender your colonies and confine yourselves to Earth, or face elimination." The transmission cut off. Ellie stood frozen for only a moment before her military training took over. "Send warnings to all colonies, begin evacuation protocols, and get me General Winters at Earth Command." Over the next 12 hours, Xeraxian ships attacked human outposts across the solar system. The few military vessels humanity had were no match for the advanced alien technology. Liberty Point itself became a refugee center as survivors from the outer colonies arrived in whatever ships could escape. 6 days after first contact, Ellie stood in the now crowded observation deck, watching distant flashes of light near Mars where the fighting continued. Grace Martinez joined her, eyes red from lack of sleep. "I've been analyzing all our communications with them. I think they genuinely believe we were planning to attack them. Their culture values emotional control above all else. They saw our expressions as signs of instability and danger." "A misunderstanding. That's cost thousands of lives," Ellie said quietly. Lieutenant Donovan approached with a tablet. "Message from Earth. General Winters has ordered all remaining forces to fall back to Earth orbit. They're preparing for a last stand. They outnumber us. They have better ships, better weapons," Grace whispered. Ellie turned to face them both. "But they don't understand us. And that will be their mistake." Across the solar system, Admiral Kavex addressed his war council. Holographic displays showed the human defenses collapsing across Mars and the outer planets. "These humans will surrender within 1 lunar cycle," he stated confidently. "Their technology is primitive, their tactics predictable. They cannot hope to stand against the might of the Confederacy." One of his commanders tilted her head. "What if they refuse to surrender?" Kavex made a dismissive gesture with his lower right hand. "Impossible. They are rational beings. They will see the futility of resistance, how wrong he would prove to be." 3 months into the war, Admiral Kavex stood before the glowing war table in the Xeraxian command ship. His 3 eyes narrowed as he studied the battle projections. According to their calculations, the humans should have surrendered weeks ago. Yet somehow they still fought on. "Update me on the Earth defense situation," he ordered. Vice Admiral Tolrix moved his 4 arms in the formal pattern of respect before speaking. "The humans continued to resist in ways that defy logic, Admiral. Our recent attack on their lunar base met with unexpected resistance." "Explain." "They converted their mining equipment into weapons. They used explosive decompression tactics that sacrificed some of their own people to damage our ships. Our casualties were significant." Kavex's skin patterns darkened with anger. "They are primitive. Their ships are inferior. How are they causing us such problems?" "They do not fight, according to any recognizable doctrine," Tolrix said. "Observer reports show they have no unified strategy. Each human commander seems to create their own approach to battle." On Earth, General Frank Winters looked nothing like the defeated leader of a losing planet. His weathered face showed determination as he addressed the gathered military commanders in the underground war room beneath the Rocky Mountains. "The Xeraxians expected us to fight by their rules," he said. pointing to the holographic display of Earth's defensive network. But we're humans. We don't play by anyone's rules but our own. Commander Samantha Kelly stepped forward. Her uniform was dirty and torn. She had just returned from the European front. My guerrilla teams have been hitting their supply lines using the tunnel network under Berlin. They still haven't figured out how we're appearing and disappearing so quickly. Good work, Commander. Winters nodded. What about the new weapon systems? Lieutenant Commander Joe Ramirez stood up. Dark circles under his eyes showed he hadn't slept in days. We've finished converting the Pacific fishing fleet into mine layers. The Xeraxians won't expect weapons on civilian vessels, and we've turned the old satellite network into a debris field trap that should damage their engines when they try to enter low orbit. Winters smiled grimly. They think we're beaten. Let's show them why humans are the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy when cornered. Back on the Xeraxian command ship, a junior officer approached Admiral Kovacs with a data pad. His hands trembled slightly, never a good sign when delivering a report. Speak, Kovacs commanded. Admiral, we've lost contact with the entire Third Fleet near the human territory called Pacific Ocean. Last transmissions indicate they were attacked by what appeared to be simple fishing vessels. Fishing vessels? Kovacs's voice rose. You mean to tell me that primitive watercraft defeated our warships? They were not as they appeared, Admiral. The humans had hidden explosive devices inside them. They surrounded our ships and detonated simultaneously. Kovacs slammed his lower fist against the war table. These humans are not fighting with honor. Where is the logic in their tactics? Vice Admiral Tulrix had been compiling a document on his data pad. He hesitated before speaking. Admiral, I've been analyzing human battle tactics. I believe I'm beginning to see patterns in their seemingly random behavior. Show me. Tulrix projected his document onto the main screen. It was titled, Rules of Engagement Against Humans. Rule number 1, never underestimate human ingenuity, he read. Rule number 2, humans don't know when they're supposed to lose. Kovacs read through the growing list. Rule 27, humans will convert any object into a weapon if necessary. Rule 43, humans value individual thinking in battle more than coordinated movements. I believe understanding these rules may help us predict their actions, Tulrix explained. On Earth's moon, Commander Samantha Kelly led her team through the abandoned tunnels of what had once been the lunar mining colony. They moved silently, their specialized boots barely making a sound on the dusty floor. Xeraxian patrol ahead, whispered one of her soldiers. Kelly held up her hand, stopping the team. The sound of the alien's four-legged walk echoed through the tunnel. She pointed to the ceiling supports and made a cutting motion. Her team understood immediately. When the Xeraxian patrol passed beneath them, Kelly gave the signal. Her team cut through the supports, bringing down the ceiling on the aliens. They didn't even have time to send a distress signal. Plant the charges and move to the next junction, Kelly ordered. We have 6 more targets before extraction. By nightfall, the entire northern section of the Xeraxian lunar base erupted in a series of explosions. From orbit, it looked like a string of lights going on and off across the dark side of the moon. Lieutenant Commander Ramirez watched from a small stealth vessel hidden in the moon's shadow. Beautiful, he whispered. Right on schedule. His communications officer turned to him. Sir, Commander Kelly's team is reporting successful extraction. They've taken 3 Xeraxian prisoners. Excellent. Those alien weapons they're carrying will help us understand their technology better. Ramirez smiled. Let's see how they like fighting against their own weapons. In the Xeraxian war room, Admiral Kovacs received the news of the lunar base attack with cold fury. 6 months into what was supposed to be a quick war, and the humans were not only still fighting but actually pushing back. Update the casualty reports, he ordered. Vice Admiral Tulrix hesitated. Admiral, we've lost 40% of our fleet. The High Command is concerned. Concerned? We are the Xeraxian Confederacy. We have conquered 12 worlds. We will not be defeated by these primitive apes. Of course not, Admiral. But perhaps a change in strategy. What does your list of rules say about human endurance? Kavex interrupted. Tulrix consulted his datapad. Rule 65. Humans can endure more hardship than Xeraxian physiology can comprehend when properly motivated. Kavex stared at the battle map showing Earth's defenses. Then we must remove their motivation, target their civilian centers, show them the cost of continued resistance. A day later, Xeraxian ships appeared over major human cities. Their weapons targeted power plants, water treatment facilities, and food distribution centers. But instead of breaking the human spirit, the attacks united humanity like never before. General Winters addressed the emergency session of the United Earth Government. The Xeraxians think they can break us by attacking civilians. They don't. Understand that humans have been surviving disasters and wars for thousands of years. We adapt. We overcome. In the rural areas outside the destroyed cities, ordinary people took in refugees. Farmers shared their food. Engineers rigged solar panels from scrap. Doctors set up field hospitals in school gymnasiums and in secret bases. Around the world, human scientists worked day and night. Reverse engineering captured Xeraxian technology. Admiral Kavex reviewed the new intelligence reports with growing frustration. How are they still functioning? We destroyed their infrastructure. Vice Admiral Tulrix had added a new rule to his list. Rule 127. The more you try to break humans, the stronger they become. Kavex stared at the words on the screen. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. The trading station near the edge of the Orion Arm buzzed with activity. Aliens of many species gathered here to exchange goods, information, and gossip. In a dimly lit corner of the station's largest bar, a four-armed alien merchant named Grelth served drinks to a group of captains from various worlds. Have you heard the latest about the human war? Grelth asked, his voice low and excited. His skin changed colors slightly as he spoke, shifting from green to blue, a sign of excitement in his species. The captains leaned forward. Stories about the human-Xeraxian conflict had become the most valuable currency in the galaxy over the past year. My ship passed near the human colony on Mars last week, said a reptilian captain. I saw a Xeraxian battle cruiser being dragged into orbit by ships half its size. The humans had somehow attached magnetic clamps to it. Another captain, this one with multiple eye stalks, waved dismissively. That's nothing. I heard about a human. Female soldier who escaped from a Xeraxian prison camp. Commander Alan Fisher, they call him. He was supposed to be in their highest security facility. Her, corrected another alien. Human genders are confusing. But yes, I heard this Commander Fisher created a fake illness that made the guards think humans were contagious. Then she walked out during the confusion. In a different part of the station, human diplomat Mary Lewis sat across from a tall, crystalline alien representative. Officially, Mary was here to establish trade routes. Unofficially, she was seeking allies in the war against the Xeraxians. The Confederacy has requested our military support against your species, the crystalline being said, its voice creating harmonic tones as it spoke. They describe humans as dangerous and unpredictable. Mary smiled slightly. And what was your response? We declined. The alien's crystal structure shimmered with what might have been amusement. Any species that has the Xeraxians this frightened is not one we wish to make an enemy of. Across the galaxy, recordings and stories of human resilience spread. The most popular was footage of Major Linda Ortiz and her Special Forces team. Their shuttle had crashed behind Xeraxian lines on Europa. With limited supplies and surrounded by enemies, they survived for 14 days, destroying 3 enemy outposts before being rescued. The recording showed Major Ortiz, her face streaked with dirt and blood, rigging explosives from oxygen tanks. Her team moved through the frozen landscape of Europa like ghosts, using the ice tunnels in ways the Xeraxians never expected. We don't have enough ammunition, one of her soldiers said in the recording. Then we'll use their weapons, Ortiz replied, pointing to the fallen Xeraxian soldiers. And when those run out, we'll use rocks if we have to. In his private quarters aboard the Xeraxian flagship, Admiral Kavex reviewed the latest version of The Rules of Engagement Against Humans. The document had grown from Tulrix's original list to a comprehensive manual now numbering 276 rules. Military academies across the Zeraxian Confederacy were studying it. Rule Thabr 193. Humans become more dangerous when cornered. Rule Tancred 204. Human females are equally as dangerous as males, perhaps more so. Rule Thabr 238. Humans view capture as a temporary inconvenience, not a defeat. The Admiral's communication device chimed. "What is it?" he snapped. "Another regiment has requested transfer from the Jupiter front, Admiral," his aide reported. "Denied. All transfers are denied." Kavex's skin patterns darkened with frustration. What reason did they give this time? They said the humans in that sector have begun using psychological tactics. They play recordings of human laughter through the communication systems before attacks. Kavex consulted the rules document. Rule number 152. Human laughter before battle is a warning sign of unconventional tactics to follow. He closed his eyes briefly. The war was supposed to have been over within weeks. Now, a year later, his forces were demoralized and requesting transfers away from human combat zones. His aide's voice interrupted his thoughts. "There's something else, Admiral. The humans sent a transmission directly to the Zeraxian homeworld." Kavex straightened, alarmed. "How did they get those coordinates?" "Unknown, sir. The message contained only coordinates in our space and a date. 3 weeks from now, in a secret facility beneath the ruins of what had once been Chicago, Dr. William Carter led a team of scientists working on reversed-engineered Zeraxian technology. The room was filled with alien devices in various stages of disassembly. General Winters watched as Carter demonstrated their latest breakthrough. "You're saying you've improved their own weapon?" he asked. Carter nodded, his tired eyes lighting up with excitement. "The Zeraxians built their energy weapons with safeguards that prevent certain configurations. They consider these configurations impossible physics because their science says they shouldn't work. But they do work? Our science took a different path than theirs. What they consider impossible, we've been theorizing about for decades." Carter pointed to a modified Zeraxian rifle. "We've removed the safeguards and reconfigured the energy matrix. It's now 3 times more powerful and uses half the energy." Winters smiled. "How soon can we put these into production?" 2 weeks for the first batch. But that's not all. Carter led him to another section of the lab where a massive engine part sat on a testing platform. "We've also modified their jump drive technology. The Zeraxians use it to travel between star systems. We've redesigned it to work inside a star system." "What does that give us?" "Tactical jumps, General. Our ships can appear anywhere in the solar system with no warning. The Zeraxians won't know where we'll strike next." In the underground remains of the United Nations building in New York, Admiral Patricia Harris unveiled the plans for Earth's new fleet to the military leadership. "Using the modified Zeraxian technology, we've built ships that are smaller but faster and more maneuverable than theirs," she explained. "They won't expect us to have this capability." A hologram displayed the flagship of the new fleet, the USS Defiance. It was sleek and compact compared to the bulky Zeraxian vessels. "And the coordinates we sent them?" asked General Winters. "A gas giant in their home system," Harris replied. "We'll make our first jump there on the exact date we told them. But not to attack, just to prove we can reach them. Psychological warfare at its finest." On the distant trading station, Grelth counted his profits from selling human war stories. An alien customer asked him about the coordinates the humans had sent. "That's not an attack plan," Grelth said, his skin rippling with colors of amusement. "That's psychological warfare. The humans are telling the Zeraxians, we know where you live, and we can reach you whenever we want." The customer's breathing apparatus hissed softly. "Do you think the humans will win this war?" Grelth leaned closer. "Let me tell you something I've learned from trading with many species. Most fight wars until they gain an advantage. Then they negotiate. Humans fight wars until the enemy is no longer a threat, either through surrender or alliance. The Zeraxians have never faced this before. They don't understand that humans don't know how to give up." Across the galaxy, military observers from dozens of species began taking notes. The document that had started as the Rules of Engagement Against Humans was becoming required study for alien military officers everywhere. No one wanted to be the next species to make the Zeraxians' mistake. The bridge of the USS Defiance hummed with quiet tension. Captain John Taylor stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the final preparations for their historic jump. Outside the viewports, Earth looked small and blue, bearing the scars of 2 years of war with the Zeraxians. "Engine room reports ready, Captain," said his first officer. Taylor nodded. "Navigation? Coordinates locked in, sir. The Zeraxian home system, just as we promised them." 2 years of fighting had changed humanity. What had begun as a desperate struggle for survival had evolved into something else. Humans had not only held their ground but had begun to push back. The modified Zeraxian technology had given Earth's forces new capabilities that the aliens never expected. "All hands, prepare for jump," Taylor announced. "This is what we trained for. Today we show the Zeraxians that humans keep their promises." The Defiance shimmered and vanished from Earth orbit. In the Zeraxian home system, alarms blared across their defense network. High Commander Zex Kalu, who had replaced the disgraced Kavek 6 months earlier, rushed to the command center of the orbital defense station. "Report," he demanded. "Human ship detected, Commander," an officer replied, his voice high with stress. "They appeared out of nowhere near the 5th planet." "Impossible," Zexikalu muttered. "They don't have jump technology that works within star systems," but the evidence was on the main screen. A single human vessel, small by Zeraxian standards, but radiating power readings that shouldn't be possible for its size. "They're not attacking," another officer reported with confusion. "They're just sitting there." "They're sending a transmission, Commander." Zexikalu straightened his posture. On screen, Captain Taylor's face appeared. He looked calm, almost relaxed. "This is Captain John Taylor of the USS Defiance. As promised, we have arrived at the coordinates we sent you, on the exact date specified. We will remain here for 1 hour, then depart. We came to deliver a message, not to fight." "What message?" Zexikalu asked cautiously. "That we can reach you any time we choose. That your home is not beyond our reach. Consider your options carefully, Commander." Taylor's expression remained neutral. "You have attacked our worlds. We can now attack yours." The transmission ended. On the Zeraxian command deck, silence fell. "Should we engage them?" an officer finally asked. Zexikalu hesitated. He had studied the Rules of Engagement Against Humans thoroughly since taking command. Rule Dumrinar 297. When humans demonstrate capability, without using it, they are offering a choice between peace and escalation. "No," he decided. "Monitor them only. Prepare defensive measures, but do not engage." For exactly 1 hour, the Defiance remained in position. Then, as promised, it vanished. Back on Earth, Admiral Patricia Harris received Captain Taylor's report with satisfaction. The mission had been a complete success. No shots fired, but the message had been delivered clearly. "The Zeraxians will be reviewing their strategic options now," she told the gathered military leadership. "They know we can strike their homeworld at any time." General Winters nodded. "And the solar flare projectors? Are they ready?" "Dr. Carter's team has completed the first 3, Harris confirmed. "We can deploy them next week." In his laboratory, Dr. William Carter watched as technicians carefully loaded his newest creation into a transport container. The device looked simple, a silver sphere about 2 meters across, but its potential was enormous. "The Zeraxians would consider this impossible," he explained to a visiting officer. "Their scientific paradigm doesn't allow for artificial manipulation of stellar material, but ours does. We've been researching solar physics for centuries." The Zeraxians took a different scientific path. Carter patted the container. "This device can trigger a controlled solar flare. Not enough to damage a star, but enough to create an electromagnetic pulse that will disable their ship's systems. Temporarily. The officer smiled. And they'll never see it coming. On the Xeraxian homeworld, High Commander Zex Kalu called an emergency meeting of the military council. The mood was somber as he laid out the facts. The humans have demonstrated jump capability within star systems. They can reach our homeworld at any time. He paused to let this sink in. Our intelligence suggests they have also developed weapons based on our technology, but modified in ways our scientists declared impossible. An older council member spoke up. How can this be? They are a primitive species. They had barely reached their moon when we discovered them. That assessment was incorrect, Zex Kalu replied. They were not primitive, they were different. Their science took paths we did not explore. Their thinking is not like ours. He displayed the latest version of the Rules of Engagement Against Humans, now 412 rules long. I've studied this document extensively. Rule No. 341 states, humans will find solutions that Xeraxian science considers impossible because they do not accept the same limitations in their thinking. A younger council member raised his hand. Why don't we use biological weapons? End this war once and for all? The room fell silent. Zex Kalu pulled up Rule No. 387 on the display. Never, under any circumstances, give humans a reason to stop following their own ethical constraints in warfare. He read aloud. This rule was added after studying human history. They have created horrific weapons they choose not to use. They fight with self-imposed limitations. If we remove those limitations by using biological weapons against them, their response would be total. A week later, the sun near Jupiter suddenly flared. The massive burst of electromagnetic energy washed over the main Xeraxian fleet positioned there. Their ships went dark, systems failing across the board. Before they could recover, human vessels appeared from nowhere surrounding them. The tactical jumps that the Xeraxians had deemed impossible now placed Earth's fleet in perfect firing positions. Captain Taylor's voice broadcast across all frequencies. This is your only warning. Surrender now, or be destroyed. Ship by ship, the Xeraxian commanders surrendered. They had studied the rules. Rule number 412. When humans offer surrender terms, take them immediately. The alternative is always worse. In the following days, similar scenes played out across the solar system. Earth's forces used their new technologies to disable Xeraxian fleets before they could react. The solar flare projectors, the tactical jumps, the improved weapons, all things the Xeraxians had considered impossible, now brought their forces to their knees. On the Xeraxian homeworld, High Commander Zex Kalu received the reports with a growing sense of inevitability. 2 years ago, Admiral Kavex had predicted victory within weeks. Now their military was in retreat across all fronts. Send a message to Earth's leadership, he finally ordered. Request terms for cessation of hostilities. His aide looked shocked. You mean surrender? I mean peace, Zex Kalu corrected. Before the humans decide that peace is no longer an option. Rule No. 413, which he had just added to the document himself. The best outcome when facing humans in war is to become their ally before they have reason to destroy you completely. The meeting room on Callisto, Jupiter's largest moon, had once been a mining administration building. Now it served as neutral ground for the peace talks between humans and Xeraxians. Large windows showed the gas giant's swirling colors filling
half the sky outside. Ambassador Nancy Walsh smoothed her formal diplomatic uniform and reviewed her notes one last time.
After 5 years of brutal war, this moment felt almost unreal. Captain Daniel Clark, who had spent 8 months in a Xeraxian prison camp before his daring escape, stood beside her as military advisor. Are you ready for this? He asked quietly. Nancy nodded. I've been practicing Xeraxian formal greetings for weeks, no smiling, no sudden hand movements. And no forgetting what they did to our colonies, Clark added, his voice hard. Nancy looked at him. We're here for peace, Captain, not revenge. Adieu. Doors slid open, and the Xeraxian delegation entered. At their head walked Grand Mediator Kulval, the civilian leader who had overthrown the military government 3 months ago. Behind him came advisors and scientists, but notably, no military officers. Welcome to Callisto, Nancy said, keeping her face carefully neutral as she made the formal Xeraxian greeting gesture with her hands. I am Ambassador Walsh, representing the United Earth government. Kulval returned the gesture. We appreciate your willingness to meet, Ambassador. The Xeraxian people desire an end to this unfortunate conflict. The negotiations lasted for days. Outside the meeting room, both species watched nervously. 5 years of war had left deep scars on both sides. Billions of credits in damage, countless lives lost, whole colonies destroyed. On Earth, President Richard Green addressed the rebuilding efforts in what had once been Sydney, Australia. Construction drones worked tirelessly, raising new structures from the ruins of the old city. The peace talks are progressing well, he told the gathered crowd, but regardless of their outcome, we will rebuild. We will recover. Humanity has always risen from the ashes of conflict stronger than before. A child raised her hand. Are the aliens still bad? The president smiled gently. They made mistakes. We made mistakes too. Now we're trying to learn from each other instead of fighting. Back on Callisto, the negotiations reached their final day. The terms were laid out on the table between the human and Xeraxian delegations. These are surprisingly generous, Grand Mediator Kulval said, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence as he reviewed the document. We expected demands for significant reparations. Ambassador Walsh shook her head. What purpose would that serve? Bankrupting your worlds won't rebuild ours. Instead, we propose technological exchange, cultural understanding programs, joint scientific missions. Captain Clark spoke up. The war happened because we didn't understand each other. You saw our emotions as weakness. We saw your rigid thinking as arrogance. Both sides were wrong. Kulval's skin patterns shifted to a lighter blue. During my time in the civilian government, I opposed the war. I argued that a species capable of adapting so quickly must have valuable perspectives to offer. The military leadership wouldn't listen. They have been removed from power? Nancy asked carefully. Yes. Our people grew tired of endless war with no victory. When the humans demonstrated they could reach our homeworld but chose not to attack, many questioned why we were fighting at all. The peace terms were signed that day. Not just an end to hostilities, but the beginning of cooperation. Earth would share its creative scientific approaches. The Xeraxians would share their established technologies. Together, they would learn from each other's strengths. 10 years passed. The scars of war faded slowly but surely. Joint human-Xeraxian colonies were established on new worlds. Cultural exchange programs flourished. The scientific advances from both species working together accelerated development across dozens of fields. On a prestigious military academy on the neutral world of Centaurus Prime, an aging alien commander addressed a class of cadets from 30 different species. The lecture hall was filled with young officers eager to learn from one of the few veterans who had fought against humans and lived to teach about it. The first and last rule when considering conflict with humans is simple, the commander said, his voice carrying across the silent room. Don't. A young cadet from a newly spacefaring race raised his hand. But surely with our technological advances, the commander interrupted him. The Xeraxians had better technology too. Now they teach courses on human military history. He activated the display behind him, showing the complete Rules of Engagement Against Humans document. It had been published across the galaxy after the war, becoming the most studied military text in a dozen star systems. This document saved countless lives, the commander continued. Once we understood humans, we realized that fighting them was never the correct option. They don't think like other species. When logical beings calculate the cost of war and determine it's too high, they surrender. Humans calculate the same costs and look for creative ways to keep fighting anyway. Another cadet spoke up. Is it true they've never lost a war against a technologically superior force? In the recorded history of Earth, humans fighting against better-equipped enemies have nearly always prevailed through adaptability, unconventional tactics, and sheer determination. The commander displayed images from the human-Xeraxian war, the solar flare projectors, the tactical jump drives, the repurposed mining equipment. The most dangerous aspect of humans is not their weapons or their numbers. It's their thinking. When faced with a problem deemed impossible by our standards, they see a challenge to overcome. When told they cannot win, they redefine what winning means. On Earth, in the rebuilt United Nations headquarters in New York, Ambassador Nancy Walsh, now Secretary General Walsh, welcomed a group of Xeraxian exchange students. They were the children of the post-war generation, raised on stories of both the conflict and the peace that followed. "Welcome to Earth," she said warmly. "I hope your time here helps you understand us better, just as our students on your worlds learn to understand you." One young Xeraxian stepped forward. "My grandfather fought in the war. He told me humans were the most terrifying species he ever encountered. But he also said you became the most valuable allies afterward. How is this possible?" Walsh smiled. "The same qualities that make us dangerous enemies make us valuable friends. Our creativity, our perseverance, our willingness to try the impossible, these serve us in peace as well as in war." Across the galaxy, military strategists studied the human-Xeraxian conflict. They analyzed the battles, the tactics, the technologies. But most importantly, they studied the peace that followed. The unprecedented cooperation between former enemies that led to a golden age of development. The final rule in the document, Rule number 500, became famous throughout explored space. The only winning move against humans is not to fight them at all. Ally with them instead, and there will be no force in the galaxy that can stand against you both. Military commanders everywhere took note, and they steered very clear of war with humans.